Hello everybody, and welcome to my first series called Possibilities with Lightroom. Actually, it's called Possibilities, not Possibilities. In this series, I am going to work with an image that is straight out of camera and make it into something magic in about 10 minutes. Probably 12, but I'm going to try for 10. Depends on how much I talk, really. I did a recent shoot in Hampstead Heath with my Light Monkeys group, and I had a first edit, I had a second edit, and I processed all these images, and they were really great. And then, you know, how you do, you go back and you're like, well, what else I got left? Well, this is what I had left. You're looking at it. And this is a picture that I shot with my 100mm lens, and I was at 1/60th of a second at 4.5, and it was beautiful light, but I suppose I passed it over because it just didn't have any punch. I mean, look at the histogram. It's just like gray, no blacks, no good whites. It's just gray and flat. And so I started looking at this, and in a desperate kind of way, not really desperate, but you know what I mean. You kind of want to get more out of what you did. I had 300 images, and then in the shoot, and then I had 8 repros that I thought, I put out on my website and shared the world, tweeted, whatever. And so I was going back and looking, scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I came up with this image. So let's get started. First of all, we're looking at it, and we notice that there's no black. There's no black. We look at the histogram, no black. So I'm going to go to my basic module here and slide the black down. I'm not using the global contrast because it's just so 20th century. I love these little highlight shadows, whites and blacks. It's just great. And if I want, I can go -100 on the black and not have to worry about artifacts and all that kind of stuff. So let's see, what about 88. So now I have a nice black. And my histogram's all pushed up against the, like it's a big mound, and it's all pushed up against the left there. I don't mind. There's a lot of stuff I don't want to see in here eventually. How I picture this image is like, there's like little dancing fairies back here, so if you look in here, it's just like a little fairy circle, it's like, where's the mushrooms? Where's the fairies? They're all hiding behind the trees, lots of fog. It's really cool. So what I wanted to do is create kind of like a really black vignette around here, and then make a little highlighted path that's leading the eye straight to this little fairy circle of trees. So like I did, I brought the blacks down, and then next thing I want to do is to get my vision to fruition in a quick way. I'm just going to drag the vignette down here, and so I'm doing the sliders. I go all quiet because I can't like do slide and speak at the same time. Multitasking. Okay, so here we go. Got a nice kind of vignette around the edge there, and if I if I click on my clipping triangle at the top, you can see I've got lots of pure black, and that's okay. I was thinking of making this a gift card for Christmas, so the more black I have, the less distraction there's going to be towards the center of the image, because all these leaves and stuff, look at, turn this off. I mean, you can see all this is just noisy, busy, right? So I don't want any of that to show up. I don't want it to distract you from what I'm trying to do. So I've kind of created a vignette, and it looks good, but there's a bit of a gap here at the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the graduated filter, which is M on your keyboard. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to slide that down right about there, and then come over here and just go minus exposure. Ooh, look how well that works. Now I've got a complete kind of like, I don't want to say, it's like a complete black frame. And maybe I'd like to get some of the highlights showing through there. So I'm going to grab the highlight slider, put that up a little bit. Yeah, because that's only going to affect the highlights, not the shadows. You see that? More or less anyway. And if I did the shadow slider, it would much more greater effect. Well, that's fine for that. So I'm going to close this box. I'll just show you. Yeah, that works great. I think I'm going to put a little blue tinge in there, just a little bit of blue, because you'll see why later. Okay? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to half tone this, and I want that to accentuate the tones that I'm going to do in my split toning. Split toning, half toning. Let's call it split toning for sake of simplicity, okay? Whoops. Oh, whoops. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to close, actually I'll leave my basic box open. You notice I didn't do any clarity or vibrance or anything like that. First I'm going to get my color right. So I'm going to go split toning. I love split toning. It makes me think of analog when I used to do a lot of cross processing. I'm going to find a nice blue. I don't want any warmth in there, but I don't want any green either. Just look kind of, okay, that's a nice blue, nice kind of baby blue. And for what split toning does is it colors your highlights and your shadows. Okay, so I've picked a blue highlight, and for my shadows, I think I'm going to pick something out of this green, maybe here, maybe on the warmer side, towards yellow, right? Okay. So I've got this nice kind of like light olive green, which is good. Now you're saying, oh, this looks way too green. So what I do now is I'm going to shift by grabbing this balance, this slider that says balance. I'm going to shift that towards the right, and that is going to make the blues more predominant. It's going to shift them into the midtones. Okay, and if I shift it to the left, it would be the opposite. It would shift the green towards the midtones. I'm not completely 100% happy with the color yet, but I can tweak this. Like I say, I'm doing this in 10 minutes, okay? So if I could spend 3 hours on this, but I'm not going to. And more pastel-y blue, there we go. Okay, so everybody follow me. I've made my highlights blue and my shadows green. So the next step in my vision of a fairy path, or path to the fairies, is a radial filter. This path is much too dark. It has the same tonality of the trees, and I want it to be more like the sky. So watch, I'm going to grab the radial filter, which is Shift M. I'm going to make a circle right here. Yeah, just like this. Just to cover the path. And I'll grab this and make it a little bit taller, drag it down. And then I'm going to get my exposure. I'm going to give it positive exposure, right? Oh, and look at that. Isn't that amazing? It looks like there's light coming through the trees up here and just illuminating this place, you know, like it's a hole in the trees, right? But I think that's a bit too much because I want the only light. I want this to be like a tunnel of kind of like darkness going to this place of light. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab the whites on the, where are the whites? I'm going to grab the whites here and bring that down. Yeah, so he's kind of taking the highlights there. Yeah, and maybe make the blacks a bit blacker. Yeah. And go up on the exposure. Oh, you know what? I'll Control Z. I won't do exposure. I will do clarity because I've got lots of detail in there. Yeah, it makes it harsher, but let's try some saturation too. Oh, yeah, brings up the color of the leaves a lot. That's nice. Let's toggle that on. Off. Huge difference. Yeah? That looks nice, but you know what? It's too much. It's too much. So I could bring it down a little bit. And then I want to add the color that I added to my graduated filter, which was this one here. Yeah? And then bring the saturation down a bit. Well, that didn't work very well. Here, I'll bring that. There we go. There we go. Oh, it's kind of reflecting like the light there. I think it's still too bright. Like I say, I'm doing this in 10 minutes, but in reality, I would probably spend 2 hours on this, just tweaking it. And if I said I like this version of it, I would just click snapshots and I'd say version 1, and then I can always go back to it. But you can see, we started with this, and in actually 9.5 minutes we have that. What else are we going to do? Do a bit of sharpening. I do apologize, but I usually do the sharpening before I do anything, but this is my first video, so I'm going to forgive myself and love myself anyway, and just add a little bit of sharpening and just say, that's fine, sharpening, fine, done. I'm going to make a video later in this different series about sharpening, because everybody's asking me, how do you sharpen this? It's like, well, you know, sharpening is an art form, and I don't have time right now to tell you, so let's just focus, people. We're just doing this now, okay? What else was I going to say? Oh, well, basically that's it. I went from, I'm going to update this version 1, update with the current settings. You just right click and it'll have your current settings, and here I have the reset as a snapshot. So from here, straight out of camera to that. 10, 11 minutes. That's it. You know, I think this would make, I don't know if it's a nice Christmas card. It could almost be a Halloween card now, right? Happy Halloween. Merry Christmas. It's an interesting shot. I kind of like it. I'd probably tweak the midpoint a little bit on the vignette. Let the highlights get through there a little bit more. If there's any highlights in there, there's no highlights in there. Maybe add a bit of film grain. Film grain's cool. Gives it an add-on. But look at the trees here when I add film grain. Yeah, it's nice. I like that. Don't use it much, but I have been using it a lot recently. And that's it, folks. I know it's kind of quick. If you have any comments or suggestions, or, yeah, Anthony, slow down so we can understand what you're doing. What I say to you is just watch it again. Just watch it again. It's, you know, every image I do in this series, I'll probably approach in a different way. It's on a per image basis. I've got another one in my next video that is from the same shoot, but I will probably start with a completely different way. It just depends on the image and how I want to approach it, yeah? There's nothing set in stone here. I'm not getting hung up about my histogram being way, you know, looking flat and to the left. It doesn't matter to me. If I hit J, you can see everything that's out of camera, right? So, well, thank you for watching. I'm really looking forward to this series and making my next video. If you like it and you want to comment on it, just leave comments below. This is the point I say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.